You have to do that.
And if you don't do that,
You just
are in trouble.
have to do that. And you have to deliberately reduce their exposure to television. Deliberately. Tell them from this time to that time, this is your work. From that time to this time, this is what you must do. You must read this book and come back and tell me. Tell me what you have read. It's not enough for them to tell you, Mom have read or Dad have read, and just leave them without trying to test their capacity to reproduce what they have consumed in. Another thing is for parents to reward these children. I know of somebody who said, from my interaction with him, he said, when the children do not read, if they don't pass, if they give them scores, the children. If you can read this book, finish this book, finish that book, if you're able to score this mark, then your trip, your next summer, you travel out of the country. But if you do not, you go back to the village, you spend your summer with grandma. And because there is reward. We need parents to teach our children to value hard work. That's the problem. No value for hard work anymore.
There's no value for hard work anymore.
We don't value them. Children no longer want to study. They no longer want to do the right things. And parents still fold their arms, forgetting that failure to do the right thing will attract some other consequences. In future, sometimes the parents are not even there to see what these children are facing in future. So we need parents to be on their toes, to stand firm. Reward is very good for children. When you tell them, when you study and you do all of this, this is your reward, you'll be amazed what will come out of them. And the great thing is that after some time, you don't need to force them. They do it naturally. It becomes a culture. It becomes a lifestyle. They do not read anymore because they want to pass an examination. They read because they need to expand their capacity as a leader. Every reader is a learner, and every learner is a leader. Natural leader.
Thank you very much for joining us on the Channels Book Club. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Do upwardly mobile urban professionals ever have time to read? How important is reading to them? What can they do to create time to read? Oluwakemi Salako, a PR professional based in Lagos, has developed an incredible reading habit and system despite her busy schedule. She joined us to answer some of those questions and provide suggestions for professionals like herself. Meet Kemi after this break. Kemi, thank you for joining us on the Channels Book Club.
Thank you for having me.
Now, a lot of people tell me they don't have time to read. It's a big challenge. Maybe because usually they live in big cities that are fast-paced and so on. How do you get time to read?
I think you always make time for the things that are important, and reading for me is an important activity. I consider it part of my own personal growth. It's educational for me, it's fun, and I think I just essentially decided that I would read every day, consistently.
Okay, maybe before we go on, let's put it into perspective.
Okay.
You are a professional.
Yes.
You work every day.
Yes.
The regular 8 to
Yeah.
6 or 7, as the case may be.
This is true.
And yet you read about how many books a month?
Over 10, close to 20.
Over 10 books a month.
Yes.
How does that happen? 10 books a month. That's a lot.
It was easier when I was in the UK, and we had the sort of commuter time in terms of you take public transport to work. So that hour and a half before work, the hour and a half getting to and from work were the times that I used to read. Now when I drive, and I do sit in 3 hours of traffic, but you can't read in that period of time, it's usually in the evenings. By the time you finished work and you brave third mainland bridge traffic, and you get home, I'm usually very wound up. So I go home, I eat, and I start to read. And that begins the relaxation process that now aids me falling asleep.
Now, if you read about 10 books a month,
Yes.
I'm guessing you probably cut down on a lot of other things.
The biggest thing I probably don't do that a lot of people do is I don't watch that much TV. So I'm quite selective. I usually either watch the news or something in particular, but I don't turn on the TV just because it's there. Another thing is I don't have a TV in my room that a lot of people have. So I look at my bedroom as literally a place to relax and a place dedicated to sleep. I used to struggle with sleep a lot. I wouldn't fall asleep till 2 in the morning, yet I have to be up by 5. And as soon as I took the television out, my laptop out, and said, okay, what will I do to fall asleep and read, it really does help. And I probably take about 3 hours to read a book, a substantially sized book. So I can finish a book in a night, start and finish a book in a night.
Can you give people out there, professionals like yourself particularly, a couple of tips?
Do not say you don't have time. People look at reading as boring. I think everyone was raised that unless you're reading for school, what are you reading for? So pick a topic that you like. If you like Formula One racing, if you like football, if you're into finance, if you work in agriculture, read things that pertain either to your career or just to your interests. Don't force yourself to read about 16th century Britain when you have no interest in such a thing. I've always read, but I think during university I started reading a lot of inspirational books and books pertaining to religion. When I was very young, I read typical novels and all those kinds of things. Now, I tend to read a lot of books about finance, about how to manage my finances better. I think what's become very popular and I've really gotten into is a lot of Nigerian authors. There are some obvious names that come to mind, like Chimamanda and Chinua and Wole Soyinka. Yes, those are the obvious ones. But I really like Sefiata, Ben Okri, those kinds of books. I'm really getting into a lot of Nigerian authors that I didn't know about before.
Let's not assume.
Yes.
How beneficial is reading? And let's zero in on your own personal experiences now. How has reading helped you professionally, other aspects of your life, and so on?
I would say reading has helped me network better. If you read a lot more about a lot of different topics, you usually have more to say. And if you're somebody who struggles to strike up a conversation with somebody, especially in my profession, in PR, which is definitely about who you know and networking and literally walking into a room, identifying the key players and being like, so, and striking up a conversation. The more you have to talk about, the easier these things are.
What are the challenges here? Because the reality is we live in a climate where it's a bit difficult for people to read, isn't it?
I think the challenges are actually more mental than they are about your time. I think there is, and I've said this, there is a general perception that reading was just for school. Reading was just for studying. I did it in university, or I did it all through school, I did it through university, and now I'm done. So I never have to touch a book again. And the thought of reading for a lot of people they don't think of it as a fun activity. They think of it as something they have to do. A lot of people were forced to read while they were young. For me, that wasn't the case. Reading was fun. Reading was a reward for good work and good efforts. And I got to pick my own books when I was young. I was read to as a child. So I always associated it with being something positive. I think once a lot of people get over the mental aspect of reading in terms of, okay, reading can be fun. It doesn't have to be about what I studied. It doesn't have to be a huge textbook. It can even be a very small, sort of like 60 pages. That was interesting or that was funny. So I think once people mentally get over the thought of, oh gosh, reading, then they'll find the time to do so.
Finally, since you read a lot,
Yes.
what kind of books are you going to recommend? Can you recommend 3 books to professionals like yourself out there?
Oh,
That's difficult.
pressure. For someone who doesn't read a lot, I would say The Richest Man in Babylon is a good start. It's not that big, and it's set. It's almost given like a fictional story way of.
All-time classic.
Yes, I'd say that, and it's about financial management and things like that. Again, a classic, The Alchemist. That's a good. I reread that. That book I finished within 2 hours. I cancelled plans because that was a very good book.
Okay.
And again, it's not very big, so it's easy to. It doesn't look very intimidating in terms of how books go.
Okay. So, Kemi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's been very good being
Nice
here.
to have you here. Thank you. The opening round of the first National Green Essay Competition is over. The competition is being organized by the Uplift Development Foundation in collaboration with the Channels Book Club. The foundation was founded by the First Lady of Ogun State, Mrs. Olufunsho Amosun. After receiving hundreds of entries from across the country, the judges are now picking the best candidates who will battle to qualify as one of the 13 eventual winners. Stay close to this program and our Facebook page to get an announcement from them on the shortlisted candidates. Since we are still focusing on children this season, here are a few more tips that can help you get your children to develop a reading culture. Give your children specific reading targets. It could be a book a week, or a book in 2 weeks, or a book a month, or whatever target works for you. Let them see you exhibit an attitude that values learning. Create shelves for books. Don't let books lie around all over the house. Read regularly. Buy books as special gifts, and so on. Spend time with them when they are reading, and be ready to respond patiently to their questions. Find ways to tie fun to reading, because play is the business of childhood. Remember that no 2 children are the same. If one child is slower in catching on, be patient and develop creative ways to get that child to enjoy reading and learning. And don't forget, you can join us on any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumu. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.